Hi guys, welcome back to the How to Produce Liquid Drum and Bass series in Logic Pro. This is video 2, so here we're looking at melody and building up some chords and getting some other bits going on. So if you haven't got the drums and everything down, you need to go back and watch video 1. And if you're new here, I'm Unders, I produce drum and bass and I do video tutorials here on YouTube. If you're going through the drum section, and you haven't got your breaks and things down, or you haven't got some break samples to use, in that first video there is a link in the description for a free sample pack that has got some breaks and other sounds in it you can use to help build your project up, so be sure to grab that. If you want to be able to download the Logic project at the end of these videos, please bash a like on the video because I'm going to need as much support as possible to get that together and make it feasible that we can do it. And let's get into the video. Alright guys, so we're back in Logic and we're on part 2 here of the how to make liquid drum and bass in Logic. So what we're going to do here is look to build up a chord progression and probably a melody to go with it in sort of the liquid style. I'm going to aim at a piano and at some kind of chord progression that goes with it. More importantly, I'll show you the fundamentals that help it work in this sort of tempo and to keep it within the liquidy genre. There's a couple of tricks that are used pretty heavily just to build everything up and give it that wall of sound style feeling. So to save you watching me figure out a melody and figure out some chords via magic now, I'm going to decide on the key we're going to use and get some chords and a pattern loaded up and then just work from there. Otherwise it would just be a really long experience for you guys. Cool, so as if by magic, we've got a chord progression. We've ended up in G major. I think it's G major. I'm not the best at music theory. I sort of know my chords and my basic progressions. I tend to really understand the ones I work in the most. Pretty sure we've ended up in G major based on the chords I've done. And well, this is what we've got. So nice progression, moves into an awkward chord. I've just got that extra little note dropping at the bottom just to give a little bit of a change before we move into the next part, and it just works really well. So if you just listen to the last bit here, just that boom boom boom, and then moves into the returning home chord. And for the minute we'll just stick with the piano while we work it out, but we might put it into a lead later. So like a lead sounds dead common in liquid D&B. That said, like piano can totally be something we use as well. Now what's definitely a thing to note is the pattern I've used here that gives us a rhythm in chords but makes use of the same chord. It's a really common thing to use where we're going to have one chord that extends over 1.5 bars. We use then the same chord just over the 1 bar to then return into our longer chord over 1.5. That's what gives us this particular feeling here. So across 2 bars we have a chain. Across the 2 bars we don't have a change, but we repeat the same chord. But because drum and bass is so fast, it actually only feels like it's one regular measure. However, having that change happen after the 1.5 bars helps us move really nicely into the next chord. Whereas, for example, if we were to just do it on the bar, it feels a lot more rigid and less uncomfortable, like less musical almost. Yeah, it's just a bit more boring. Whereas having it go that 1.5 bars and then come in works with the rhythm of D&B as well, where you've got that usual syncopation of the second kick being a bit late. In this case, our chord comes in late, and it's actually the same rhythm, just extended over a much longer period rather than over 1/4. It's extended over 1.5 bars. Exactly the same rhythm, really. And then obviously right at the end here, we've made use of just getting that extra little note in, which literally using the 1/4 measure. Yeah, and this is the only time we've got a differing chord after our bar and a half. And then we've even got an extra note halfway through that chord. And that's what really helps us get that transition, so we want to return home to that original chord. And that's what helps our transitions really work. Now, I quite like the like full 16 bars looping around here, because we've got enough changes in our drums that hearing the chord progression come around for a second time is completely comfortable. It feels perfectly fine for 4/16 bars, but after the 16, I think it's going to start feeling like it's repeating a bit. So we're going to look at getting a melody in there, I think. Let's just have a listen to it and make sure. Yeah, it's a bit boring here. We need a change at that point. So at the end of the 16 there, here, we're going to look to put a melody in. We're going to work something out to go on top of the chords. What we'll do, we'll work a measure above the chords. So if we copy the whole lot here, we're going to make a copy of the notes. All right, so we've copied the chords here. If we hold Shift and Option and press up, we can move the whole lot up an octave. We're going to move them up another octave, and even one more, I think, really pushing it up into the top. And let's bring them back to the start. Now we could actually potentially just use that. But what I think I'm going to do is just use the higher registers here. I'm probably just going to make use of these notes. We're going to bin off the slot. And just using these notes, we're going to make a melody out of this. It's going to be really simple, but it's just going to add to what we've already got going on. I think we could maybe actually have like a bit of a flurry going up. I think we could bring these in staggered. Yeah, that's a really nice little flurry at the end. That should work well for us. Get rid of that. Let's copy this over. Going to listen to the whole 32 bars and make sure it's all working for us still. Do you know what? I'm really feeling a crash needs to be right at the start here. It just feels like it should be there. So we're just going to drop a drummer pan in, drop it right back, and we'll see if it can give us just a crash. Or it can freeze up dramatically and stop working. I mean, that's also cool, right? Right, so we want to make just that one tiny little hit there. We're just going to get this so it's just a crash, hopefully. Loud, simple, no fill. I'm not sure if this kit's got a crash in it. Okay, so it's rocking off the ride there. What we'll do, we're going to the Apple loops and see if we can get ourselves a crash from there. Okay, so we're just going to cut the crash out, put a little fade on the end. Okay, that's kind of working for us. We stick you below there so we know what you're doing. Let's just get up the mixer here and let's see if we can use some reverb just to hide it away. We've got a large reverb here that came in with the drummer. Let's see if we can use that. That's still a bit. That's not going to work. It cuts off too quickly for us. We want the whole thing. That'll do. But my goodness, we don't need it to be that long. We can have you gone by there. Cool, so right here, I'm going to strip it down, I think probably to there. We'll just mute these. So let's just close the library, get the inspector back up. Just go on the inspector right at the top. We can just mute those. We don't need to cut them away. And then we can bring them back if we decide to change our mind. But I'm just feeling the bongo rides quite nicely up to there. And then on that transition, it'd be really nice to focus on the piano. So taking that element away will hopefully like really let the melody pop out. Then we can bring it back in slightly like off time, not on the measure you'd expect. Let's just play from here. What I'm going to do here is actually take all of the larger sections here out just to really break it up and give us a new rhythm and just let the melody bits really shine there. And I just heard then as I was making it what I'm going to do with in terms of the bass. I think we're just going to sub this first section. Then when the melody drops in, I'm going to try and open it up with a bit of a wider reese as well. So what we'll do in this video, let's have a look at getting a sub bass just rocking and working with our chords here. So let's do Command and D and get a new channel up. So I just copied the piano channel there, which was definitely a mistake. So if we just click on the top up here, we can just reset channel strip. And what I'm going to do is drop Alchemy in here. Not if I click on the MIDI effects though. Cool. Now I use Alchemy for most of the synth work that I do inside Logic, but you can make use of some of the others, absolutely. The structure, like the modeling synth's really great, retro synth's really great as well. But for making things like a subline, this can't be faulted. So if we do File and Initialize Preset, and we're going to change this saw wave here to a really simple sine, that's going to give us the fundamentals that we need. And we are just going to steal from our chord progression. This is going to be our subline right here. Yeah? We're literally going to take those notes. We're going to pop them in this pattern just here. And that is going to give us our subline. Instead of this note going lower, I think we'll have it go higher though. So we're going to do our shift option up and just bump it up an octave, 2 octaves. Ooh, too loud. What we'll do, we'll have that note go high and we'll have this longer note go low. Now as well, there's a little pop and click happening here between the two notes that join on the sub. We're just going to give it a little bit of a gap like this. Cool, now let's figure out where it's going to sit best for us and how we really want this to sound. So I think at the minute we can maybe drop it down an octave. Yeah, now the first notes here, I reckon we can probably work up an octave with these. I think we need to lengthen the release just a little bit. So if you have a look on Alchemy, if we click on Master, we can see that this is our default ADSR. And I think we need a little bit of an attack coming in, probably somewhere like 15 to 20 milliseconds or so. The release is relatively long, but a little bit longer is not going to kill it, I don't think. And instead of 100% sustain, I'd just like to have it dip just a little bit, just so there's a bit of audible movement in there. Okay, so what we're going to do for the release instead is actually shorten it up, but we're going to make use of the curve here. We'll have it curved down like this, so it's going to tail off quickly, but it sustains its level for a little bit longer, and I think that should dip a little bit nicer in those places where we've given it a gap. Yeah, that's working pretty well there. We could give it a little bit of movement, I think, based on the kick drum. Just so on every 4 beat, it's going to just take it down a little bit, and we'll just use the standard sidechain to do that. So make sure we've got our Alchemy channel selected. We just click up here. That's going to give us a compressor. And I have something called my FET DNB side or my FET sidey, and they're two just presets I have set up for drum and bass so that I can just load them up, do my side chain here, and we're just going to do it off the single kick, and they're ready to rock. Everything's set up for how I like it in drum and bass, so you can just copy those settings if you really so desire. I don't know if you can really hear it, but that's giving it another groove straight away. That's another rhythm going on. Let me just have it off. We'll let it run for like 2 bars, and I'll bring it in on bar 3 and just see if you can hear it's creating another rhythm just by taking a little bit of that sub out, which is just, it's great, exactly what we're after. I actually did a video on using the FET compressor for adding rhythm, because it's a noisy compressor. When it triggers, it adds a little bit of noise and your ears pick it up, but you don't really know what's going on. Clever little trick. All right, so do you know what I'll probably would do now is we'll get this copied over so we've got it across the whole shebang. And I'd probably actually balance this out a little bit, because at the minute it's starting to get a bit all over the place. I don't want to mix it, I just want to rebalance it so my kick's still a driver and the sub and everything's in there. So we're going right up to, say, the one we've got called default here, which we're going to rename subber. And we're going to select all of those. So if we hold shift and select one and then select one further away, it's going to highlight the whole lot for us. And I'm literally just going to drop the levels down like that. I'm going to turn my monitoring right down. I'm just going to rebalance this out. I'm going to do it in an order that's important to me, which is generally the order I've organized the track, barring the sub. So I'm going to level the kick drum. I'm going to level the snare in relation to that. Then I'll bring the sub up, and then everything else around that. So most important elements for me, especially in the track at this stage: kick, snare, sub, piano, everything else. So that'll probably be the order that I work in. I just want to balance it out so I've got more of a feel for what's going on and where stuff can be missing and added. It just helps me vibing with the track if it's constantly at a place where it's comfortable to listen to. Cool, so that's just a quick rebalance. Now I turn my volume right down so that as I bring each element in, once I can hear it clearly and my volume's quiet, I know that's going to be a rough, good level. I would spend a lot more time tweaking that when I actually come to the mixing stage, just wanted to get a rough balance. Now I'd have a quick look at my headroom. I was leaving myself about 7 dB there. So again, I'd take all of the channels, I'll probably bump them up another 3 or 4 dB just to make sure I'm still running at a good set of headroom, basically. So probably go somewhere around here. See, that's a drastically different balance than before, but that's nice. We like this. Cool. Too much on there, so take you guys down a bit. Sweet, I'm pretty happy with that. So what we've done in this set of videos, we've basically got our chords, chosen our key, adjusted our chords. We've understood why we use this particular pattern and why it works, in the fact that it's effectively the same rhythm as the D&B track itself, but working over a longer period. Technically, that's a polyrhythm, so it's a rhythm that's out of time in terms of length, but the same rhythm, so it comes round in cycles. We've added a melody on top of that chord progression, and we've done it using the same notes from the chords, but not necessarily the same notes in every chord that's playing, which gives us a nice consistent melody. And we've then built our own sub using alchemy and just given ourselves a bass line to sit under that chord progression. After that, we've then just taken all our levels down and rebalanced our track to continue working on it and understand where we're at with it. We've also added in a crash that comes in right at the start of bar 1, but that just brings us around in a nice loop from 32. I think it's going to really help us when we build an intro in, because I'm probably going to use the melody without the chords to build in the intro. So in the next video, we're going to look at adding that Reese. We'll maybe add a breakdown and an intro, and we'll really start fleshing out the track. And we'll try and build it so we've got an intro, 32 bars, a breakdown, and then in the final video we'll really go into mixing it and making it sound as we want and get as much out of it as we can. So guys, I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.